Lined up on the workbench, I have the components for today's project. Here are my KEF Coda Type SP1034 two-way speakers. I left the grill on one of them, so long-term viewers might remember these. These were a very lucky dump find from many years ago. I really like how they sound, but as you can see, they are both missing the drivers. So, what happened? In 2013, I decided to build a pair of really big and really awesome sounding transmission line speakers. And those use a combination of the KEF B139 oval bass driver, KEF B110 as a mid-range driver, and KEF T27 tweeters. And those, of course, are obsolete parts. You can't get them new anymore. But, very conveniently, the KEF Coda speakers contain the KEF B110 as a bass driver and KEF T27 tweeter. So I simply took the drivers out of these speakers, and then I only had to buy a pair of KEF B139 oval bass drivers secondhand on eBay. So that was that, and ever since 2013, these KEF Coda speakers, very unfortunately, have been without drivers. At a flea market, I recently found the front panels of some speakers that somebody once built, and those contained the KEF B139, B110 and T27 drivers. And for only €25, I took a gamble and decided to get those very questionable looking components. And I got somewhat lucky. The B139 drivers do work, and I have them now in storage in case I ever need them. The B110s do work. I have them right here. There is just one minor problem, which I have had before when I built my transmission line speakers. The rivet has broken off of this speaker terminal, so that is now loose, and the previous owner just stuck a piece of wire into there. But I am going to repair that the same way I repaired the B110s in my transmission line speakers. I'm going to mercilessly slaughter this television speaker, take out its speaker terminal, and use that to repair the B110. The KEF T27 tweeters from the flea market unfortunately turned out to be dead. What had happened was the previous owner was an idiot, and he just simply hooked the drivers together all in parallel without a crossover. So, needless to say, the T27s were blown, open voice coil. So these two T27 tweeters I got off eBay. Had to pay €90 for these, and that gives you an idea of how expensive these drivers are. So even with the blown tweeters, the €25 speakers from the flea market were still an extremely good deal. I took the crossover network out of one of the speakers. This is the KEF model DN13 dividing network, but this is actually misleading because, as you can see, there are several blank spaces on this circuit board, and you do actually find different combinations of components on these DN13 boards. What I will change are the electrolytic capacitors. These are some rather weird looking bipolar capacitors. One is a 6 microfarad at 50 volts, and the other one, now you can see the brand name, this is an L-cap bipolar 5 microfarad capacitor, also rated at 50 volts. And these two are going to go. I decided to order in some replacements. Now, the website that I ordered these from did not specify any brand for these bipolar capacitors, but, well, they do look okay. I now finally have the broken connection terminal of the KEF B110 driver replaced. This took a lot longer than expected. I actually broke 2 of my replacement terminals while trying to get them off of their speakers. So I actually ruined 3 speakers to repair this one. But now it's done. As you can see, doesn't look perfect, but it certainly is a lot better than that repair that the previous owner attempted to do. But you have to be really careful with these speaker terminals. You cannot bend them, not at all, because those rivets will break immediately. After removing the 2 screws, you can take out the crossover network, which does require some patience and some force, because you have to push the dampening material inside the speaker out of the way. This is the crossover after the capacitors have been replaced. I measured all capacitors on the component tester, and the result is this table. So as you can see, just as an example, the old capacitor was rated at 6 microfarads. It measured 7.6 microfarads. ESR 1.3 ohms. The new capacitor, rated at 6.8 microfarads, measured 6.9 microfarads. ESR was 1.2 ohms. I'm not too sure about that. I may have had a bad connection on the test leads because all the other replacement capacitors measured much lower. So you can study this table if you're interested. Just pause the video for that. I just wanted to document my latest achievement. I broke it. Next I want to install the tweeter, which is slightly more difficult than usual because, as you can see, it has some wires which are permanently attached to the unit. They do come out at the back. So what KEF did, and what I'm going to replicate, is they just connected the permanently attached wires of the tweeter to the crossover with just a little solder joint and then some heat shrink tubing for insulation. And here are the joints that I made. And yes, I know, I didn't have any black heat shrink tubing left over. Oh well. The first speaker has been reassembled. Now I gotta do it all again. And here they are, finally. The KEF Coda speakers, assembled in 1973, reassembled in 2018. One final test that you can do on these sealed enclosures is to test that seal simply by pushing in the base driver. You push it in and it has to come back out slowly. So let's try to catch that on camera. And on this one, not sure how well you were able to see that on camera, but the seal of these enclosures is fine. So these are now ready to be put back into service, and I can't wait because I do remember these to sound really, really good.